I feel like, we need to start where we just were with Dansby in casual conversation about people who maybe messed up
for sure,
and overlooked his talent.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think we need to start with Atlanta being like the epicenter of like youth baseball and all these great prospects and, East Cobb Yankees and, all these different teams and all these different players that are coming out of there. Can you speak to that and then get to the story that you were telling us right before we hopped on?
I mean, to me, it's kind of evolved over the last, 20 years or so, because obviously I grew up here. My family's all here. My brother is 9 years older than me. So like I kind of like saw him. He's 9 years older than me. My sister is 7 years older than me. We don't have to get in detail. Like I was probably the little accident child. That's cool. I'm cool with it. So nobody can make fun.
It worked out for the Swanson family. So
it's all good. It's all good. So it actually probably helped me because I was always playing against kids that I shouldn't have been playing against, because they're way older than me. Mm-hmm. But so like I kind of saw it then, like with the East Cobb was like really starting to like develop, and they got their own complex. And then it kind of just became like, not necessarily like the trend, but baseball kind of became like one of the main things here. And people would send their kids to like the metro Atlanta area, essentially, to be able to play baseball because the competition in high school was really good. The competition in summer ball was obviously really good. And then it just kind of became like the center of, like you said, like all of youth baseball. And I don't know if it's because the weather in the summer or like in the spring, or if it's like because Atlanta airport is just the easiest airport to get to from anywhere. Like, I don't know what the cause of it, but Atlanta sports in general are like booming. Seriously, like the football programs, basketball, like there are people coming out of Atlanta left and right. And I love it because like like I said in my interview, like I'm an Atlanta lifer. And so like anytime I can like put on for somebody else that's from Atlanta, I'm all in. So it's really cool, like seeing that evolution and growth of this city and like, kids getting into it. Now there is a negative side to it because I'm telling you, like, it's like, like growing up, like there was a lot of like pride associated for like your team that you were playing for and like your organization. And like, you really could create that like special bond. And then now it's like, it almost feels like kids just like play for exposure. Like there's nothing else but kids playing for like themselves. And to me, like that leaks into like their career in pro ball or their career in college. And we wonder why kids are transferring left and right. Cause it's like, I need to play right now. And I need this opportunity to do it right now. And if I don't get it, like I'm out. Mm-hmm. Instead of like working through that and understanding how to grow and become a better player or beat whatever the team needs you to be, like that stuff's getting like thrown out of the equation. And I'm telling you, like the stuff that no one considers like sexy or cool is going to come back and like be cool and sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I always say, like when Aaron Judge hits a homer and hits it 490 feet and looks and then just puts the bat down and runs. Like it's going to be kind of cool again. Like I'm telling you. Like,
I like that.
You know what? I mean, even just the team aspect of it, just because I think the kids now, everything is a showcase. You know what I'm saying? So like they have, they individualize the sport where like to get better and build, it's a team thing. Like you said, when we grew up and when I grew up, and Ryan, all you talk about is like that summer, you know what I'm saying? That team that you had and how you close still with all your boys. Yeah. And that's what it was about. Yep. That's what it was about with baseball. And now it's kind of turned into like an AAU thing. We write with the social media and like, who can I play for and exposure and just team hopping where we were just on one team, throughout the summer. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. Man,
I'm telling you, like I'll see kids like on Instagram, right? And like, just pop across like so-and-so's like top prospect or whatever in high school. And you go click on it and like I go to their page and it's literally if they have 80 posts, 75 of them are them in a baseball uniform playing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you kids, like, first of all, like you don't really know what ball is life actually means, number one. And like the fact that you got to do everything for exposure for people to see that that's what you're doing. I'm like, that's my second red flag. I'm like, because there's so much more to it. Like you said, like there's so much more to like the the team and being a kid and these kinds of things that like actually grow you and not just, oh my gosh, like I can catch a pop-up and right, throw hop 20 times and throw it as hard as I can to third base. Like that literally translates to baseball in no way. You know what I mean? Like, because, I mean, how many dudes you play with in pro ball that you're like, man, like there's kids that I've played with. I'm like, I wish I could run like that or like that, or I wish that I had hands and the ability to juice a ball like that. But the game of baseball, I'm better at the game of baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I always tell everyone, I said, I didn't get picked number one because of my like pure ability. It's because I've always been blessed to be able to play the game of baseball well. You know what I'm saying? Like do the things that you need to do to win games. Like that's what I'm going to provide. Like that's me.
And I think you hit it right on the head when you said like you don't really know what ball is life is until it is your life. Like until like I didn't even understand that until I went from like high school games until like this is your fucking job. Like and this is every single day you have to show up and do your job. It's not a game really anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes really a lot more than that. So be a kid and have fun as long as you can. Yeah, like have it be fun as long as you can. I always try to tell my son that like you want as less pressure on this as this game. In this game is possible. I mean, let it be fun for as long as you can because when it gets real, it's real, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man, it's so funny because I always talk about like there's like these like phases that athletes go through. And like when you're a kid, it's all about having fun. And then when you get into college too, like you learn like the whole like, for me, the competitive balance of enjoying it, but really, really learning like to compete and like doing the things right to win because everyone's livelihood's on the line. And then you go into pro ball and you learn how to be a pro. And if you're not careful, like learning how to be a pro, you can lose sight of the joy. And then it's almost like the like transfer, like the cycle of like going back and understanding of like, you know what? I've gotten my routine now that works for me. Now it's all about just having fun again. Yeah. It's kind of funny how it like comes full circle like that.
That is a really fantastic way to bring an image to how you go through those stages, man. And it's so funny the way you're saying this because I have to say, just watching KD's new show on Apple TV, Swagger, like this is what it's about, you know, and this kid being told he's got all the talent, like, hey, you got to get your followers up, man. Like, you know, and he's playing not just for his team, right, as he's bouncing AAU team to AAU team, but for the, you know, instant gratification that he gets on social media and the following there. And the thing that always amazes me is that it's lost. The people you look at, and we know Instagram is a highlight reel, right? But the people you look at, you're admiring, you want to be like you got to remember all the steps it took for them to get to that place. Like, you don't just, boom, get there. If you try and skip those steps, you will fall short. And there does seem to be something... I mean, I don't know. You're close to a lot of young athletes. Like, it seems like that's being lost for some of these athletes, right? Like, steps are it's not that they're being skipped. Like, they don't even realize how vital they are to get where they want to go.
Yeah, and I you know, I really seen it at the start of like the social media. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see what everybody else has, like when I was in high school, if I could see what the kid in Florida was doing, like it would freak me out too. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I wouldn't play 3 sports. Maybe I would have just been trying to play baseball the whole time because I'd have felt like I was behind something or behind someone. I was just at my own pace. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of going through this journey, and it like being able to see everybody else's shit takes that away from you. You know what I'm saying? It kind of speeds up. Now kids are signing, you know, in the 9th grade. They've never been even to the campus of the school that they're going to, that they signed to. You know what I'm saying? Like kids take their official visits 3 years after they signed to go to the school now. You know, and it used to be like we were signing our senior year to go to these schools. So it's a different game, man.
And it's funny because that kind of like segues into, I'll tell you, I'll finish the story we were talking about, you know, before we start recording.
Hey, see, you notice Dansby's got some podcasting skills. You notice this? Like he's
absolutely
like segue skills. I like it, man.
You know what's funny is me and my buddies, we do this little podcast and we've been, you know, filming some episodes and all that kind of stuff. And Mal gets on to me all the time. Like I enjoy talking and I enjoy conversing like about stuff I care about and like stuff that I think is fun. But yeah, see, you're right, because Well, the other thing about social media for me is everyone posts like their highlight of their day. Like, ain't nobody going to put up anything that has to do with them striking out, getting in trouble, like anything. Like, the only thing they put up is when they look good. And when we start comparing ourselves to like only someone else's like highlight reel, then that's when you get in trouble. And it's more important than ever, just like running the race at your own pace now, because if you were to always try and run at someone else's pace, like maybe right now you're ahead of me, but like I will catch up at some point. But so that goes into, so I can start over so everybody can.
Yeah.
So the story is, so I'm an Atlanta kid. I always like kind of grew up more of a Georgia Tech fan. All my friends were Georgia fans. And I was just like trying to be, not necessarily trying to be different, but like for whatever reason, the University of Georgia like rubbed me the wrong way. And so I was like, you know what? And Nomar was my guy growing up. Like I was a huge Nomar fan. He played at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was close. I had a lot of buddies that had committed to Georgia Tech, wanted to go there. The summer ball program I was playing for, the East Cobb Yankees, a lot of their coaches and stuff went there. So like Georgia Tech was like kind of like number 1 and 2, like on the list, you know?
I got to tell you real quick, Dansby, I actually played against the East Cobb Yankees. I have to
bring this up.
I did. And I was trying to think, not to derail your story, because we all are obviously looking forward to hearing the rest of it, but I just had to say it because you brought it up before. And I was like, wait a second. In a tournament down in Georgia, when I'm 35, so I don't think we're on this team
you're about
yet.
My brother's age. You're pretty much like my brother's age.
I wonder if he was he on, did he play for them?
No, maybe. I don't think he did. No,
they had some studs though. It was like summer 2004, I think. I don't know who would have been on the team then, but I remember hearing afterwards, like, "Oh, this guy got drafted. These guys," and I don't know if they're big leaguers.
Dex might have been. Dex
and McCann too, probably.
It could have been.
You know what?
There's some there. Dex might have been there.
That might have been it. Like,
and I wonder about because Stephen Drew played there too.
Wow.
So I wonder if that was around that same time frame.
That team was filthy, man. And my team was, for a Northeast team, my team was stacked. Like it was my team was fantastic. We got down there and we did okay, but that team, we were on the field with them. I was like, no, they're different.
Brother.
They're different, man.
It's different. It's different baseball down there.
It is, man. And I felt it. All right. So East Cobb Yankees.
Yeah. Yes. So I was starting my recruiting process. This was like, and this is me starting my recruiting process. And this was the end of my sophomore, in the beginning of my junior year, just for like, especially to compare to nowadays. Like, man, if I was nowadays, like, I don't know where I would be because everyone would have committed. Like, I was somewhat of a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I played basketball all throughout high school. So like, I was never fully committed to baseball until it was baseball season through the summer. And then when school started back up, it was like, your boy was back in the gym shooting the rock. Right? So basically I wanted to go to Georgia Tech, kind of had somewhat of like a visit lined up. We had done like a little practice down there and we're trying to set up like a visit, and essentially got told that like I wasn't good enough to play there, that like Georgia Tech like didn't need my services essentially.
Wow.
And so it was kind of crazy. And so later on, like as my junior year is going, my summer ball coach was like, he reached back out. He's like, listen, like, you're sure, like, I'm giving you basically like last chance. You're sure you do not want this kid? They're like, no, we got somebody that's going to play shortstop with the same age. Like, we don't have a place for him. So
whoops.
Fast forward. Yeah. So fast forward. Right. So he's like, he's like, okay, well, that was your last chance. I'm going to reach out to other places. So the first call was to Vandy. And he's like, listen, I got this kid. Like, he is going to be like a very like special talent, essentially. Like, you need to come watch him. So lo and behold, Josh Holliday, who's Matt Holliday's brother, who's the head coach at Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, yeah.
Yeah. So literally, like, next day, he comes down to watch a game. And this is my first game out of basketball season. Like I hadn't done anything hardly. You know what I mean? But there was just something, they really saw something in me, essentially, that led them to say, like, this kid, like, we like this kid. he brings something. We don't know what it is, but like he's bringing something to the field. So fast forward, I commit to Vandy. Like Vandy was pretty much my only scholarship offer.
That's crazy.
If I didn't go to Vandy, my parents played at Troy. My dad played baseball at Troy, and my mom played tennis and basketball at Troy. So like Troy was like that was going to happen if Vandy didn't happen.
So if you're gonna have one, though, Vandy's a good one to
Right.
have, man.
Right. And people are like, well, at least it was Vanderbilt. And I'm like, I know, it's just kind of like crazy looking at it. It's like, you know, all these other schools like really didn't give me the time of day.
Right. Like if Georgia, I get into MIT, I should also be getting into Penn and Harvard and whatever, right? Like,
I'm not trying to put everybody on blast, but like I got
go for it.
I got a recruiting letter from Georgia, and they literally didn't put my right name on there. It said it's you know, it's one of those like mass letters. And so I go by Dansby, which is my middle name. It's my mom's maiden name for everybody that wants to know where that came from.
Oh, nice.
And my first name is James. And they sent me this thing that said, Dear Morgan. And I was like, I don't even know who, like, I don't know who y'all meant to send this to, but it's not me. You know what I mean? So it just like, that kind of like further, like, showed like why I just never cared for the University of Georgia. So anyway, so I commit to Vandy, and like everybody kind of knows like how the rest of that story goes. And the funniest part about it is, and I don't want to say his name because I don't want to put him on blast, but the kid that committed to play shortstop at Georgia Tech ended up being a left fielder for them.
Oh my gosh.
And was in short season for the Braves when I got called up.
What?
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
That's crazy.
They messed up that one, Dan.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh,
like,
crazy.
Like just like the fact that we ended up in the same organization and I was getting called up to the big leagues.
To the big leagues.
This is a kind of a fun thing to do. See, when Dansby tells that story, there's a specific moment like that in my career life I think of. Is there one in your life that you think of someone who had a chance at you, turned you down, maybe you even wanted to be there? Maybe you didn't want to, but
no, it was the Giants. The Giants had a chance to draft me. They had to pick right before, I think I was the 20th pick. They had the 19th pick. And then they had the 22nd pick or the 21st pick, and they said they was going to draft me with the pick after, but they actually took a kid that I've been playing with like our whole lives. And he like I played against him our senior year, and he ended up getting drafted by the Giants. And yeah, it was the same thing. A-ball, and I was in the big leagues 2 years later. It's crazy.
Did you think about that then forever?
I think about the shit all the time.
yeah, you got to.
I mean, it's nothing against the guy. You know what I'm saying? It's just the situation that they put you in. Like, yeah. I mean, I definitely should have got drafted by the San Francisco Giants.
I think that mine is like when I was applying to colleges and that, I knew I wanted to get into broadcasting, and I knew I wanted to, eventually do play-by-play, and so there were certain schools that stand out, and obviously Syracuse was one of them, and they have the Newhouse School, and I was like very quickly dismissed as a candidate at the Newhouse School, and I'm like, well, you know what, you guys, you kind of messed that one up, that didn't work out for you, man. Fordham's gain. I think about that now, but it's interesting because I also, in fairness to all these people, it's not the easiest thing to evaluate 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds. So now that we're evaluating like 12-year-olds and getting them to, it's just mind-blowing to me when you can make big mistakes on people who are much more developed.
Well, man, and to me, like, it happened to me again because I got traded like within 2 months of getting drafted.
Yeah.
But going back to evaluating kids, my thing is, you don't even know how a kid's going to develop, like mentally. That, like physically, you can predict some things and watch, kids and say like that kid's got a chance or this or that. But like the mental thing is the big part for me. Like men, we don't even stop developing until we're like 25. So you're telling me when they're 12, 13, 14, that you're going to be able to tell like what their personality traits are going to be like when they get older and all those kinds of things like that. To me, I do not understand it. And then for me, the kids that are actually being smart and wanting to like handle the whole situation maturely, like it hurts them. Like the ones that are trying to go about it the right way and handle business the right way, it hurts more than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole system, like, I don't know how you change it because you kind of got to like evolve with it. But at some point you're kind of just like, man, we should try and like push like the recruiting back. Like you can't start recruiting. Like you can't commit till you're 16.
Yeah.
Like if you don't even have a driver's license and you're telling me you can make a decision on where your future lies with the college, like I just don't buy it.
And like for me, I just, you talk about playing basketball. I would love to see kids play other sports. I mean, can you talk about, like you said you play hoop all the way through, how that helped you, even just breaking it up mentally or, even on the field?
Yeah, I think mentally, like basketball is like my fun sport, right? Like I was able to go out there, enjoy playing, every Tuesday and Friday night, being able to enjoy like just competing in a different way. Like I still like, I love basketball. It's probably my favorite sport. Like I love watching it. I love playing.
Hawks fan? You a Hawks fan?
Yeah, I am. I like the Hawks.
Nice.
I do. They got a nice group, man. They really do.
They do. I was there Friday night calling Nets Hawks on ESPN. Yeah.
Trying not to be a Nets fan, bro. I was watching the game
I know.
You were trying so
hard.
ESPN,
no,
you were good though. When Gallinari hit the three, you kept it in check. You were good.
Man. If I'm in a professional setting, I'm going to be a professional. Because I will tell you, when I do a national game, it's weird how it like evaporates from you. The only thing I care about is it being a great game and the broadcast going great. It's just it's almost like it takes over in a weird way. So yeah, when Gallo hit that three, I'm punching it, and then when KD does his thing, then we go the other way. But so it was it was like a mental. It was the fun. It was
just from that side of things, like it broke up the monotony of baseball.
Yeah.
It broke up the monotony of like training and just going to the cage and hitting, and like I gave my body a break. Like I gave my arm a rest. I wouldn't throw for 3 months, like I would hit once a week, like on like a Sunday with some of the different guys with, the East Coast Yankees. Like we would go up and hit together on Sundays, and that would just kind of like keep me in baseball shape. But the basketball part, like physically, like I know everyone talks about like sports specific training, but like you can't really convince me that at that age, when you're 16, 17, 18, that me going and playing basketball isn't going to help me as a baseball player. Well, it's my fluidity on the field. Like my footwork was better, like just the whole cross training thing, and even just being in better shape, like mentally stronger in different areas than that you would get on a baseball field. And then my favorite part about it was competing in a different way. Like learning to compete, I'm telling you, is like should be the number one trait for kids. I don't care. I mean, obviously physically you need to have some talent, but when you can couple that with the competition and like the it factor mode, it changes things completely. And so like our high school basketball team was pretty good. The basketball in our area was pretty good. And I was the only white dude on the team. So like I would get grilled everywhere I would go, right? Just because what easier person to pick out than me, right? Like I'm the white dude. Like we're gonna make fun of him and and get on him. So like even just having to deal with different crowds and like our games would be pretty popping. So like being able to play in front of people really translated like to when I went to college and you go and play in a SEC stadium or Omaha or you get to the playoffs in the World Series and like you've like kind of like I've been doing this since I was like 16. Like I know that it's a way different scale and there's more people and this and that, but I mean I've been in the heat of battle and shoot, like in high school basketball games, like stuff gets way more personal than it does like like when you go like when we're playing Houston, like they're not saying anything like real personal, but like when you go to high school basketball games, man, like some of these things like people say you're like that is not okay. You know what I mean? That's not how it should be done. But it's just it's different, man. And kids, they miss out on that. And also too, like just the culture part, right? Like playing basketball and playing with kids that were different from me. And I got to like just grow as a human because I'm around kids that live life differently than how I lived. And, like if you were to go play football, it's the same. If you were to go play hockey, it'd be the same. Like playing different sports, you're around different people.
Yeah.
And that kind of like helped me, just adapt to understand like how people operate, and how to mesh with everybody.
Helps you be a better teammate for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I have to say, I feel like the one of the first people I heard talk about the injury aspect of it was Joe Girardi. Like, I remember Joe Girardi talking about, hey, why do I think all these arm injuries are happening? Because I think these kids for so many years have so many miles from playing 12 months a year in one sport. And it makes sense. And I also think that there's this compulsion, right, from kids that like, oh, they see everybody in these circuits and they're like, if I don't do it, I'm going to fall behind, right? But there almost has to be this like awareness of like, no, it's not meant to be. If I can't do it while I'm also playing these other sports, maybe it wasn't going to happen. Because if you're going to cut through, I feel like you will playing multiple sports. I don't know. Dansby, you think that's fair to say like, hey, if you're going to shine playing baseball, playing basketball or playing football or playing hockey or whatever, forget about how it helps you, which you just described beautifully. But it's not going to hurt you from standing out playing baseball.
No, I think it's 100% right. I mean, your body's just, we don't even play as much baseball as, you know what I'm saying, as these kids are playing. Like, this kid's still playing tournaments right now. Like, Dansby's sitting in his basement, like, after the toughest run in sports. You know what I'm saying? Like, winning the championship. Like, he needs a rest. Like, these kids go from perfect game this to perfect game that, and they facing the best competition every weekend, 12 months straight. Like, you need a break. And it's no way that, like, we need to incentivize other, like, baseball players playing other sports. We need a league in the summertime that's dedicated to just like the football players and the basketball players that can't get the perfect game tournaments or this and that. And we just showcase them all right here. You know what I'm saying? Because there are some great athletes that maybe it's a AAU tournament that they can't get to.
Yeah.
They can't get to the perfect game tournament because they got to go to the basketball game or different things. We need to incentivize these kids that play other sports and really showcase their baseball skills, because I think we're going to lose the battle of kids just picking baseball. So we need to, you know what I mean? If we want to get athletes and an interjection into the game, we're going to have to pull from these other sports.
Absolutely. And I think, and I mean, two things. The injury thing that you bring up, like, part of it is miles on the body. But the other thing too is they've only ever trained to do one thing. So if one thing ain't necessarily working exactly how it should, like it's great when the machine is working, baby. Mm-hmm. But as soon as one screw's loose, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you've only ever played baseball. You haven't done other things that helped your body adapt to do more than just turn one way to hit and turn one way to throw. And run and then take a curve, take a turn. It's like, instead of moving and being fluid and all those kinds of things.
You know who's a great example of that, Ruocco? Is Sonny Gray. Like, Sonny's small, he's undersized, but like, he's fucking phenomenal because he's great at everything, cuz. That dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, quarterback, basketball, golf, like, he's like Mookie. He can do everything. So like, when he's on the mound, if he's got like a little tweak in his hammy, he can do a little adjustment to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a phenomenal athlete, and that shit helps him big time.
Yeah, it's so funny, Dansby. Just like our producer, Bobby Wagner, just messaged me, and it's so true. He said, I didn't know that Dansby played basketball specifically, but it's so obvious he played other sports from how he defends. You could see the footwork, natural athlete, awareness. And it's true. Now that you're saying it, like, watching you can see it. It is obvious that you played these other sports.
Yeah. No, I think, like I said, I that's like my one big bone that I've tried to pick with all these different kids and people is just like, let them play multiple sports. And then the other thing I was going to say after the injury stuff, and parents piss me off.
Oh,
and we're sitting here harping on the kids, but kids are following the lead of their parents, and the parents are the ones messing them up.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like ready to put parents on full blast right now, because like, check yourself. Like, seriously, check yourself, because number one, is it are you actually guiding your kid down the right path for them, or are you guiding them down a path that you want? Mm-hmm. And I think that so many times, like, parents look and say, so-and-so's if you only work and work and work and work, like, you'll get to be like that. And I'm like, listen, I'm all for hard work. But you also need to understand that there's a thing called burnout, and it's real. And like, we can look at these crazy success stories and kids that have, been the hardest workers, and we can talk about MJ and all this and that. But truth be told, like MJ is an anomaly. Like he's the 1% of the 1%, you know? And it's like, maybe let's not necessarily just compare to him. Like, let's take all the other professional athletes that have been successful for a long period of time, you know? And so often our parents are like looking at it through the lens of how they view it and not necessarily through the lens of what their kid wants. Like, let your kid be a kid. And yes, I sacrificed plenty of parties in high school. I sacrificed plenty of time, you know, so that I could be the best athlete I could be. And that was my choice. But my parents empowered me to make the right decisions. Like they would guide me to make the right decisions and they raised me to make good decisions. They didn't necessarily always just say like, you have to do this, you know, like they would point me in the right direction. But so often parents are the ones that are messing these kids up.
Man, I think if you watch, just a great example is King Richard. Like I just watched that movie on HBO Max. People think that he was crazy, but no, he had those girls going to school. He made sure that they lived a childhood so that when they were ready to turn pro, that they didn't get burned out. And that's why I think you see them play into their late 30s and almost 40s because they didn't play amateur tennis at all. He really took them out of it.
Yep.
Dansby, how about, I mean, you obviously you have these really deep Atlanta roots, and you win the World Series for the Atlanta Braves as a shortstop. I mean, I know this is something you got asked about so much in the aftermath, but you know, what has been the best part of this experience of being a world champion? By the way, you hit 2 bombs in the World Series as well. And I mean, and winning in your, you know, for your hometown team, hometown city. What's the thing that has just stood out most to you about this experience and the aftermath of it?
Well, number one, if y'all are like still doing this podcast in like 12 years, I would probably be able to give you like a much more like perspective driven answer because as Cease knows, like I still have so much of my career left. And like when one thing's done, like we just learned as athletes, like on to the next, you know what I'm saying? Like don't harp on past experiences. Like it's time to move on and I need to be better for next season. Like I got plenty of improvement that I need to do in order to get to where I want to get to. But to answer your question, like, I think it's just so cool how winning a championship brings a city together. And I think like just being around and like, you know, people have that debate all the time and I don't know what y'all's answer would be, but you know, when like a fan says like, yeah, we won the World Series and people are like, no, you did not win the World Series. Like the Braves won it.
No, it's a we. It's like with the Raiders is we for me. Like I'm in that shit, guys. We were talking about this last night.
Yeah, we were talking about this last night on our podcast. I was like, you know, I get it. Everyone's gonna say that, and everyone's got their own reasons. But like my best friends, my family, like we won a World Series. This is what we've been talking about since we were 5 years old. This is what we've worked for. This is what they've helped keep me on track for, whether it's like when I'm not playing good or when I am playing good, like kind of keeping me where I need to be level-headed. And, you know, my folks just like doing literally everything that they've ever done for me. Like, yes, we did it because I may be the one playing, but I also wouldn't be there if it weren't for, you know, God putting such great people in my life to help me with those things. So like seeing that happen and like my friends being able to be in Houston for Game 6 and all my family and stuff, like that is what stands out the most because I've always said like Atlanta is a very like hospitable place. And so is Georgia in general. And like everyone being able to come together for that like unique, like that thing is special, man. It really is.
Man, it was crazy. I was at Game 3. It was insane. Like to be to be like in Atlanta, like in, you know, it was just crazy.
Tickets were like $5K pop, dude. Like,
wow.
That's what people are like, you don't think this means a lot? Like, dude, it was like standing room for like $4,000. Like, have fun.
I mean, just the battery alone, like just the whole vibe. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in there in the last 18 months because my son's been playing youth baseball. So, and we stay at the battery all the time. But just to see it during that time, like during the World Series, it was insane, man. It was so much fun to be a part of.
I'm gonna give a shout out to this place because when you're here, you need to go eat there. So it's called Companions. It's CUPANION, Companion. And it's a breakfast and lunch place. It's open from 8 to 2.
Oh, I love breakfast spots.
8-2.
Yeah.
And so it's open Tuesday through Sunday. The only day that closes Monday. And let me tell you, like, I go there as often as I can. Let me put that. If we're in town, I'm there.
Where's that at? Is it up in Marietta? Where is it?
No, it's up in Sandy Springs.
Okay.
It's like up off Roswell Road.
Right. 4920 Roswell Road.
Look at this guy looking it up.
I'm looking it up, man. I should have done this podcast before last week. I had a Georgia Tech UConn women's game and then a Nets Hawks game back-to-back days in Atlanta this past weekend. So Thursday, Friday.
The folks that own it, obviously become good friends with because I'm literally there every day. And they used to be in like private fine dining. Like they used to do. They'd cook for people that were like making movies in Georgia, because Georgia's become a really popular place for movies and stuff. And so like they would do like personal chef stuff for a lot of these actors and like big time people. And they kind of like got to the point where they wanted to make their own spot. So like their food, dude, I'm telling you, is banging. Like their food's banging. And if you like good coffee and stuff, their coffee's banging. Like it is phenomenal.
What's the go-to breakfast order, Dansby, for you?
So, I don't eat eggs.
Really?
So yeah.
Interesting move.
Like it just like does something to me. Like my body just does not respond well to eggs.
All right.
But I get this vegan hash that's really good. It's got like carrots and regular potatoes and sweet potatoes, and they like saute spinach. And they have this like homemade like kale pesto that they make that they put on there.
Oh, nice.
And then I put a little bit of hot sauce on there. And then I either they make these sweet potato biscuits that are fire, or I'll get like a little side of pancakes. That's usually what I go with.
Oh, nice, man. That sounds absolutely perfect. Atlanta had for a long time, I feel like, had this reputation of like, the atmospheres aren't great, right? The fan bases are a little more laissez-faire. At least that was a perception. And then, last year I'm watching, or like you're going to see a lot of the other teams' fans in the building, that kind of thing, right? And then last year I'm watching the Hawks in the playoffs, and the atmosphere was absolutely unreal.
Yeah,
and then watching you guys in the playoffs and World Series, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, how would you describe the Atlanta sports fan, Dans? Because I feel like just over the last 12 months, we've all gotten maybe a much different impression than what we had previously had.
Man, so one thing I don't think people like understand about Atlanta enough is like it's a very like transient community. Like there are people literally from everywhere there in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And they come from so many different places, like so many different walks of life. And so the typical like, if you're from Philly, it's like Philly ride or die. If you're from Boston, it's Boston ride or die, New York, like you name it. And Atlanta's just different because there are so many different people from so many different places that are here that kind of bring their like fanhood with them, essentially. So I think that's like a little bit of like a battle of what the city goes through. But if you find any people that are like from Atlanta, like it's all Atlanta, you know what I mean? So it's just a matter of like finding those right people. And the Hawks have done a really good job of capitalizing on that market. And which I think another thing that people don't realize either is before the Braves moved to, where we are now at Truist, like everything was downtown and nobody lives downtown. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone lives in like metro Atlanta, suburbia. So people weren't going down to Turner every night because it's too far and
traffic
on a school night, like ain't nobody doing that. And traffic's terrible.
Terrible.
So it's one of those things like, okay, well, now that they moved us to where we are, well, no wonder we get a lot more people because they literally like did a heat map of season ticket holders. And they just said right in the middle, like that's where we're putting the stadium, which made a huge difference, especially because we're playing every night. But then the Hawks started capitalizing on, they were starting to get better and they were really entertaining and people started to like want to show up and show out essentially for them. And they were doing well. And then, the Falcons, it's kind of like when we're playing well, like everyone's there. And when we're not.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, it's a sports town, but it's just they hadn't won. You know what I'm saying? In a long time. Like it hadn't been any winners.
I'll say this too. Another thing that we battle is if you're like Fridays in the South, right? High school football. Yeah. That's a very big deal.
Yeah.
Saturday, college football. That's a huge deal. Sunday, NFL. Like football takes a whole weekend. You know what I mean? So like there's so many other things. I'm telling you, like even down the stretch, you know, big games at home or whatever. Our games are so late. They start at 7:20. If it's a school night, baby, I'm telling you, like kids are at home in bed because the school is more important. You know what I mean? Which in a way is like cool because priorities. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. It's like that's just the reality of the situation. Like the values are just different.
Yeah,
like it's completely different than anywhere else in the country. It really is.
Hubie I was doing the game with Hubie Brown, and he still lives in Atlanta, and he was telling me it was a Friday, and he was like, "Oh, it's big, like it's state championship football night this past Friday or whatever." It's like, so the traffic is we gotta leave so much earlier to beat this traffic, and I was like, because I'm naive to it, I figured, but I was like, how big is high school football in Georgia? And he just like shoots me a look. Oh, wait, it's unbelievable, and I'm naive to it, but then he went on to describe it. And he was just like, you wouldn't believe how big all these games are across the state.
But you should just see the schools, like how big the schools are, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like fuck the
high
games.
schools.
Like, the high schools themselves are like, I mean, it's like college campuses. It's crazy.
No, man, it is. It is. I mean, even they put so Marietta High School I went to, they were playing Hillgrove, which is another high school in Cobb County. And the girls were playing flag football, like state championship. And like they had that on TV.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm telling you, it's a big deal. Like, and I love it because I grew up, like I literally grew up doing everything sports. Like I love it. But that's just how it is here.
That's crazy. Great. So Dansby, in addition to your World Series ring, you just dished out a ring recently. Getting engaged. Congratulations. Getting engaged to
thank you.
To an outstanding athlete in her own right from the U.S. women's national soccer team, Mallory Pugh. So how'd you do it, man? Like, what's the engagement story? How'd you pull it off?
So, I mean, we have obviously talked about like getting married and all those kinds of things. And, I took the opportunity when she was in camp in January. I like had this jeweler come to the house basically and bring some different options. She told me exactly what she wanted. Like she made it easy on me, which I'm thankful for because I know nothing about any of that stuff. And so she told me what she wanted and basically was like, all right, I'll just make it happen. Like that was kind of my motto. Like, I'll just make it happen. Whatever ends up being, that's what it is. And so the funny thing is, the dude that had it was out in LA and he had it for like 5 months. And he was like, he texted me one day, he's like, I have your ring. I'm like, I know, but we haven't done like the whole West Coast swing yet. So when we come to LA at the end of August, I'll come pick it up, take it home with me. So I had it at home. I had it hidden where I know like she would never look, So I had it hidden, which was kind of a mistake having it at the house because there were plenty of times that thing was just burning a hole in my pocket. Like when she'd come home and when she'd come visit me, I'd be like, man, should I just go grab it and like just like be beside the bed, like, so I'm thankful I held off because I kind of planned this trip to Miami with me and her, and then pretty much like our community of friends, like who we would consider like our best friends, like in our relationship. So there was us two plus 9 others, and so I kind of like told her, I was like, listen, we were planning like what we were going to be doing this off season. And I was like, listen, like I need you to block off like this long weekend for me because like I have something planned and I don't want you like coming up with these plans and then you're getting mad at me for like having to cancel them.
Yeah.
And so basically I told her this was on a Thursday. I was like, I need you basically done with your workouts and stuff by like 11. We got lunch at 12:30. I need you to dress nice. So while we went to lunch, one of my best friends, his girlfriend, and like Mal's friends came over to the house, put up a bunch of like different decorations and stuff like that. I'm a big writer. Like I love to write like handwritten things.
Nice.
So yeah, like this would be my advice to any kids out there. Like get good at writing handwritten notes because they go a long ways for people.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a big like thank.
Yeah, I'm
right?
in that
like,
camp too, man.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
I like, you know, like anybody that works at the field when you're giving out like end of the year stuff, like I love writing notes to people because it's like meaningful.
Great, man.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I my thing with Mallory is I write her notes a lot and just kind of like leave them for her to, you know, find. Like one day if she's just, you know, having a bad day, like having it on her nightstand and just things like that. So I wrote 3 different notes that kind of like went through our relationship of like from start to where we are now. And then obviously asked her to marry me at the house, which was great because it's like very intimate for us. Like we're not necessarily like huge, like public people. Like we definitely like our privacy. And so then so then after I asked her, like that was like the first surprise of the day, right?
Yeah.
And then she didn't know, she had no idea that her friends were in town. She had no idea that we were like going to go on this big trip with our friends. Like she was thinking it was just us. So we pulled up to the airport over at PDK, and because I had gotten a little private jet for us to go down. And
nice.
And as we like walked on, like all of our friends like behind this curtain, and they like popped out.
Oh, that's fine.
That's sick, man.
So it was dope.
That's
So like we had an awesome weekend like down in Miami. Like we had really good. Like me and her went to dinner just by ourselves the first night, and then we took all of our friends the next night, and then had someone come over to the house and make dinner the third night. It was top notch. So I think she was a little bit worried that like I would botch it, honestly, because I'm not the best planner. But I always tell her, I said, I know I'm not the best planner, but like for things that I really care about, I can plan with the best of them. You know what I'm saying?
Like, and now you got receipts on that because you knocked it out of the park, man. I mean,
seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like if you're someone who writes handwritten notes with frequency and with meaning, I'm always going to trust you with an engagement. I just am. You know, like I feel like it's an embedded
Good
skill
man.
you got. Then you know.
Good man.
You know how long you been with Mallory, Dansby?
We've been together since we've been like officially together since the end of January of 2018. So coming up on 4 years.
That would make sense. So this is just a funny personal thing, but so. One of my really close friends is Megan Rapinoe. Megan and Sue are two of me and my wife's closest friends. And I want to say like, I don't know, somewhere around 2016 or 2017 or something. It must have been 2017. We were at dinner and I was talking about Aaron Judge, who I have a good relationship with, whatever. And I was like, man, you know, we got to find him a girl. I think he was single at the time, or we were just surmising. And Megan's like, Mallory Pugh would be perfect for Aaron Judge, right? Mallory Pugh would be perfect, right? And then shortly after that, before it was just like a fun conversation, she's with you, and I hear like, you know, I think this is going to be, I think this could be a real deal here with Dansby Swanson. So man,
because
you beat Aaron Judge to the punch. I'm just saying, but now you're getting married. He got married, so it worked out for everyone.
I know.
Yeah.
Congrats to him.
Yeah,
it's funny because we. So her brother-in-law is Jace Peterson, who we played together in Atlanta, and we've been like homies ever since.
Oh,
he was in New York for a little bit.
He was in New York for a little bit, and then he's been in Milwaukee the last couple of years.
So is that how you guys met?
Great dude. Yeah, we actually originally met through a mutual friend. This girl that played soccer at Vandy that I was really close with was playing with her in DC. They came to a game when we were playing the Nationals, and like that's how we met. Didn't really like think anything of it, and then when I went down to Jace and her sister Bree's wedding, like that year, it was in like November of 2017. That's when we kind of like hit it off, and then kind of like talked throughout the rest of the off season, and then basically were like, you know what, like this is right. So
yeah.
It's kind of like a rom-com when you meet at a wedding. That's good, man.
It is.
Yeah. And love is in the air, baby.
Hey, I love it, man. I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. I mean, Dansby, what about right now as you go through kind of uncertainty with the labor situation in baseball? How do you approach this offseason? I mean, what are your thoughts right now as you get ready to, who knows when baseball comes back or what the situation will be?
Well, luckily we just kind of went through this, right? Last or 2 years ago. I mean, what's the quote? It's like, you don't got to get ready when you stay ready kind of deal. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you just continue to work and trust your progression of your workouts in the off season to where you're trying to get to. And then if you got to make adjustments, you just make adjustments. Like that's what we as athletes do. You make adjustments when you need to and kind of just trust what works for you and make your adjustments along the way. So, I mean, it's as simple as that, really, like for me.
And for all the guys that know where they're going back to, where you're going. So it's not a big deal. You just get ready, and when you guys let me know, I'll be down to fucking spring training. Hopefully, the shorter the better. To be honest with spring training.
No, you ain't lying.
Pull a Brett Favre or a Michael Strahan. Just show
call
up
me March 1st, guys. Call me March 1st. I'll be ready.
Right. No, you ain't lying about that. You need the time, but at the same time, you understand how to navigate through. If you got 4 weeks, you can navigate.
For me, spring training was I just loved hanging out. It was no pressure. I didn't have to get my routine. I'm golfing, I'm fishing. It's just 6 weeks to hang out, really. It is what it is.
C is way busier since he retired, Dansby. It's not even close.
Love that.
I love it. I love it.
Better than most people because most people, they be doing some dumb stuff because they don't know what to do.
I got to stay busy.
That's true. Dansby, how closely will you follow all aspects of the negotiations? How do you approach just, taking in information during this period of time?
I mean, I try and stay involved enough. I'm one of our alternate reps. Max Fried is the one that handles all of our stuff, but I try and stay involved just to kind of provide somewhat of my 2 cents, and just to kind of be able to stay in the loop. But I mean, a lot of it, Cease knows this. At the end of the day, somebody somewhere is going to have to figure something out. Hopefully, we got the right guidance and leadership in place that's going to navigate us through that. And I think that being able to rely on people like that is important. So, I mean, that's kind of really how I view it. And I know people get tired of the whole, millionaires versus billionaires type thing. But at the end of the day, we deserve what we're valued at, and there's no skating around that. So
yeah, the industry is what it is at this point. I love to see the contracts getting bigger.
What would be the date that you get worried, Dansby? What would be the day where you're like, oh, I really want to play, and now is there a time where you'd all of a sudden get antsy?
Every off season you get antsy anyways. You know what I'm saying? Cease knows that. Once you hit that 10, 11 week of you've been working out, you're kind of ready to just go throw and hit a little bit and hang out with my boys.
Be outside.
Right. But I think when it comes to serious stuff like this, all players know the importance of what the CBA looks like. And by being able to understand the magnitude of it, it kind of allows you may be antsy, but this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me, and there's more to be done with this. And so just sticking together through that, I think is something that we're going to, obviously be strong with.
No, I was saying right before you came on the pod, I never got antsy. It would just be sheer panic. Because it'd be right now, and I hadn't worked out or fucking thrown anything yet. And it's about to be Christmas, and I'm damn, it's about to be New Year's, and I ain't done shit. So it was always more panic.
Oh my gosh. You know what? And Dansby gave a very good answer to make sure you're not giving the league any kind of ammo there with a date, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
We're all paranoid.
Understandably so. All right, Dansby, what do you have the Hawks returning to the conference finals this year, or maybe even beyond? What do you think?
I think they got to get healthy first. I think what's been killing them is what's been killing them is I think the lack of defensive depth. They can obviously score with anybody with their roster. I think not having DeAndre Hunter is a big deal, just because the length, from the wing spot.
Yep.
And I think the same thing with Cam. I think Cam hasn't really found his consistency like I feel like everyone would want. But defensively, I feel like he provides so much just because of his length and like he's kind of like always in the passing lane, Mm-hmm. And with a guy like Trey, who obviously needs to be on the court as much as possible. I mean, I don't think it's a secret that can be at times like, I wouldn't say a liability, but there's an easier mismatch opportunity with him out on the floor. And you need to surround that with guys like DeAndre or, Cam or even Bogey. But like, it's just been like a mix and match bag just because of health problems. So getting those guys back, I think is like the key. And I think that like really like they can beat anybody when they are healthy. It's just a matter of if they are or not.
Teams in the NBA, see, I don't know if you feel this way. In the NBA, teams that can really score, but are poor defensively in the regular season, even though I know you're going to have to play defense in the playoffs, I don't dismiss them. They scare me more than the team that's great defensively in the regular season but struggles to score, because I feel like in the playoffs, it's about getting buckets, and everybody turns up the intensity and the focus defensively. Now, there are teams that can't do it enough, right? Like those Suns teams that were great, that couldn't do it enough.
I'm going to tell you who makes me nervous, guys, that you're describing, is the Nets.
You're saying because
they can score, but like at times they can't really defend and
But last year they could in the playoffs. That's my thing.
They did.
They turned it up defensively because all of a sudden everybody's locked in, everybody's engaged. Whereas
that's hard to do.
Season,
whereas like if you're the Warriors, you play defense all the time.
Well, it's true.
You know what I'm saying? Or if you Phoenix, you play defense. Or if you're the Bucks or Miami, you play defense all the time.
Or in fairness, this year the Nets are very good defensively because they have to be, because they're losing Kyrie's offense. But the Hawks have been atrocious defensively this year. Yeah. But they've got, like, when they're healthy, they've got so many athletes who can score that, like, if you have Trey, Hunter, Bogdanovich,
and
Capella,
Cam was playing good in the playoffs played good in the playoffs last year too.
Herder,
that's what made the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know. Dansby, I think they're dangerous, man. No matter what they do in the regular season, they're going to be dangerous.
Brother, I can't get my hopes up. I got to stay realistic.
I understand.
That's an Atlanta sports fan right there.
Yeah. Hey.
I know every bit about it.
You know what? Every member of the Falcons organization should be sending all of you a gift every October for the rest of their lives.
I do not even want to go over this.
They owe you so big. You guys put back together the hearts of so many people who had dealt with what seemed like it was going to be a permanent arrhythmia since 28-3. You probably were one of them.
Oh, I'm well aware. I am because. No, I mean, I was there, and I don't even, like I'm saying, I'll come back on the podcast another time. Like, we'll do another one because I cannot go over that right now.
Hey, all I'm saying is you took a magic eraser for all those fans. So well done, Dansby, because the Braves at least have brought joy to all those aching hearts.
Amen. Amen.
Hey, Dansby, thank you for all this time today, man.
And I appreciate it. Yeah, thank y'all.
Great talking with you. Now go do your grocery shopping, all right?
I will. I know. I'm about to get in trouble.
Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks,
yeah,
Dansby.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. See ya.